Greetings of the day to all the listeners. Hope all of you are doing well. Thank you for joining in and welcome to Simply Gita. Today, we shall explore the wisdom given by Sri Krishna in chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. As far as science is concerned, it comes up with new discoveries almost every day. All the situations around us are constantly changing, and so are the skills which are required to survive in the modern world. But even after thousands of years, the knowledge of Gita holds its original value and it is as relevant in the modern age as it was before. So let us start with chapter 8 of this ocean of knowledge. The mind of Arjun is full of questions and he is not very easily able to understand the supreme knowledge which is given by the Lord. So he questions Krishna, he requests him to explain him that what exactly is Brahman, what is the self, what are actions, what is it that is overwhelming in the material world, and who are the ones known as demigods. To get his curiosity fulfilled, Arjun asks Krishna that who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does that Lord resides in the body of the human beings, or rather the body of the living beings. He asks Krishna that how is the self-controlled yogi able to know Krishna at the time of death. Krishna had initially told Arjun that the yogi who tries to control the mind and the senses and engages in action without attachment, such a person is able to obtain Krishna. But Arjun wants to know that how exactly does this become possible. So now Krishna finally starts answering the questions of Arjun. Firstly, he tells that as far as Brahman is concerned, the Brahman is indestructible and it is something which is beyond the ordinary. It is in the spiritual realm, and then Krishna tells that for the self is the real eternal nature of the soul. It is that everlasting nature of soul which is not temporary. And then Krishna speaks about action. He tells that actions are those activities which help in the development of material body of the living beings. Due to our nature, we all have a lot of desires, and true action involves getting rid of these desires and engaging in work without any sort of attachment. The Lord tells Arjun that all those things which can be destroyed, that is, those things which come to an end, the physical world which is constantly changing, is what makes the material world overwhelming. As for those who are the universal form of the Supreme, who cannot be destroyed, they are the ones who are known as demigods. Then Krishna tells that he, the supreme super soul who is situated in every living being, he himself is the Lord of sacrifice. And the part of the super soul which is located within us, but we are unaware of it due to ignorance, that super soul, that is Krishna, is the ultimate beneficiary of all the sacrifices. Krishna further answers that the person who is devoted to him, who engages in action throughout his life, and even at the time of death, the person who surrenders to him, that is the one who remembers him with true faith, such a person surely attains Krishna, and there is no doubt about this. As already mentioned before, our life is like a bank account, and our actions increase or decrease the balance of merits or demerits as the case may be. Krishna tells Arjun that the person who is on the verge of giving up the body, such a person surely attains the state of being which he remembers while quitting the body. In simple terms, when we are on the verge of death, then just while dying, whatever we think of, whatever we remember, we surely attain that state of being in our next life. Meaning to say that the thoughts or feelings at the time of dying are also reflected in the next life. The Lord then tells Arjun to remember him, have faith in him, and at the same time carry out his prescribed duty of fighting. If we keep our mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna and dedicate all our activities to Krishna, then we will surely attain him. It should be noted here that Krishna in no way suggests that Arjun should only keep his faith in him but not indulge in action, because undoubtedly action is the most important factor. It is only when we help ourselves that God helps us. Krishna regards practice as very important. This is the reason why he mentions that it is not so easy to be situated in yoga by controlling the mind, and it is something which is developed through practice. The one who is able to control the mind and engage in action, only such a person can perform his or her duties efficiently. If lust and anger enters our mind, then it destroys the state of yoga. So we should be careful from these emotions and keep practicing. The yogi is engaged in carrying out the prescribed duties. In addition to this, he thinks of the Supreme as the one who knows everything, the one who has always existed, who is the controller of everything, who is smaller than the smallest, who takes care of all, who is beyond the ordinary material world, who is bright like the sun and is incredible. Here Krishna mentions about the features of the Supreme, and he also tells that the yogi remembers the Supreme Lord while he is engaged in action. While practicing yoga, it is essential for us to keep our focus in between the eyebrows. So here there is a form of meditation which is being recommended. Lord tells that the person who has gained strength through the practice of yoga, such a person is able to fix his breath in between the eyebrows, and with an undeviated mind, this person remembers the Supreme at the time of death, ultimately reaching the Supreme Lord. Here Krishna is explaining the manner in which we can remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death and reach him. Those who know the Vedas, the sages who are in the renounced order of life, such people enter the Brahman. The celibate person practices celibacy with the objective of gaining perfection. Krishna tells Arjun that he shall now explain him briefly the ways through which Arjun can get over the pains and sufferings of the material world. After closing all the doors of the senses to avoid any sort of distraction, one has to focus the mind on the heart, and with a controlled mind, the breath should be focused in between the forehead. Through this practice, a person becomes detached from sensual engagements and is established in yoga. So it is sort of a practice of focusing our attention on the breath. After being situated in this practice, the person who vibrates the sacred syllable of Om thinks of the Supreme and quits his body. Such a yogi surely reaches the supreme destination. The Lord further tells that the person who without deviation from the mind remembers him always and is regularly engaged in the devotional service, for such a person, Krishna is easy to obtain. Krishna is the super soul, a part of whom we all have within us. Those who carry out the prescribed duties by engaging in action without attachment, those who have faith in Krishna and are situated in yoga, such people have attained the highest perfection and they become free from the miseries of this world. The Lord tells that whether it is the highest of the material planet of Brahma or the lowest material planet, the process of birth and death is certain in all these planets. They are engaged in a sort of cycle. While explaining this knowledge to Arjun, Krishna tells that the one who reaches him, that is the one who reaches the supreme planet of Krishna, is never born again in the material world to experience the miseries of this world. In one way, we can conclude that the person who has faith in Krishna, who tries to follow his instructions, is undoubtedly able to get rid of the miseries of life. There is a huge difference of time between our planet and the planet of Brahma. The Lord tells that Brahma's one day is equal to 1000 ages together, and so is the duration of his one night. So one day of Brahma is equal to 1000 cycles of 4 different ages or 4 different yugas, namely Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. Krishna tells that when the day of Brahma begins, the entire world is created and we all come into existence. When the day of Brahma ends and his night starts, the entire world comes to an end and it is absorbed in Brahma. We have often heard that how this particular world started lakhs of years ago. Krishna tells that repeatedly when the time for Brahma's day arises, then all the living beings come into being, that is, they are created and the entire world is actually formed. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, the beings are helplessly destroyed. The word helplessly plays an important role. It signifies that those beings or souls who gain knowledge in their life before dying, that is, during the day of Brahma, those souls are actually able to reach the planet of Krishna where they are free from miseries. However, ignorant people, like the most of us, are helpless in such a situation and we are completely destroyed, only to take rebirth when Brahma's day arrives. When this world comes into existence, then our intelligence is in an unknown state, which is covered because of our senses and is something which is not easily visible. Thus, we have to awaken ourselves and obtain the knowledge through the support of yoga and Krishna. The Lord tells that even beyond this intelligence, there is yet another eternal state, and that state is actually Krishna. This state is present deep within all of us, but is hidden because of ignorance. And once we become conscious of it, we are situated in yoga. Krishna tells that the eternal state which is beyond intelligence is indestructible and remains as it is even when the entire world comes to an end. Further, the Lord explains Arjun that what the Vedas describe as unknown, invisible and indestructible, that is the supreme destination, and once the human attains that destination, he does not return to the material world. Then the Lord tells that the supreme destination is nothing but his own residence, that is, it is the planet of Krishna. In simple terms, this verse indicates that we have to recognize the Krishna within us, the talent within us, and once we engage in yoga and perform our duties, once we utilize that talent, we will definitely reach the supreme planet. The entire world and everything which is living and non-living have emerged from the Supreme God. Whatever we see is only a reflection of the Supreme, and the only way to attain the Supreme is through pure devotion. Explaining the way of reaching the Supreme, Krishna tells that the devotion should be true and consistent. He tells that although the Supreme Lord has a residence, he is all-pervading because everything is situated in him. The ones who obtain knowledge in this life, who recognize the part of the super soul within them, such people are not born again, meaning to say they are free from the cycle of birth and death. The time at which we quit the body or the time at which we die is also very significant for the decision that whether we'll be born again or not. The Lord tells that he shall explain to Arjun the different times of quitting the body, following which the yogi does or does not return to this particular world. In the Gita, besides teaching the way of living, Krishna also mentions the ideal time or the circumstances under which if a yogi dies, then the circumstances of the future are very different. So he tells that the time when the sun is shining, or during an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the white moon, that is during the period of the brightening moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels to the north, that is the period between 22nd December to 21st June, when the sun rotates from the Capricorn to the Tropic of Cancer, which is from south to the north direction. The yogi who dies during these mentioned time periods, such a yogi attains the Supreme and is not reborn. So here, the word day is a symbol of light and knowledge. Such a yogi dies in knowledge and therefore is not born again. Now Krishna speaks about the time during which death is not fruitful. He tells that at the time of smoke, that is when smoke covers the fire of sacrifices, or during the night, during the fortnight of black moon, that is the period of fading moon, or during the 6 months when the sun moves southward, a person who dies in this particular mentioned time period, such a person is born again in the world. The Lord tells Arjun that according to Vedas, there are only 2 ways of leaving this world, that is 2 ways of dying. one in light and the other in darkness. Light is the period of brightening moon, while dark is the period of the fading moon. The yogi who dies in light does not return to the material world, and such a yogi reaches the supreme. The yogi who dies in dark has to return again to the material world and is not completely free from the cycle of birth and death. Explaining the two circumstances of dying, Krishna tells that the yogi who learns this knowledge is never amazed, and so Arjun should also be fixed in his faith towards the Supreme. A lesson that we can learn here is that we also should be situated in yoga of action with knowledge and complete faith in the Supreme. Studying the Vedas, indulging in sacrifices, penance, and charity are great deeds which provide us with blessings. Krishna tells Arjun that the yogi who engages in the devotion of the Lord, the one who has faith towards the Supreme, such a yogi is able to reap the benefits which result from these mentioned activities, that is, studying the Vedas, indulging in sacrifices, penances, and charity. And at the end, such a true devotee reaches the supreme destination. So, with this, we have come to the end of chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord provides knowledge on Brahman, on action, on the self, and the circumstances of death in order to clear the doubts of Arjun and all the listeners. So that's all for today. Hope the podcast was able to provide you with value. This episode was undoubtedly a very deep one, and please listen the same twice if the concepts appear overwhelming the first time. We shall resume our journey in the next episode to explore the knowledge mentioned in chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you for joining in. Have a great day ahead, and lastly, just one request. Let me know your views on the episode. Let me know if you're liking the work by connecting with me through the link given in the description. Thank you.